Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the worst reviews ever. Got KC Fred in here and amazing. So I see you got the rings and all the stuff going on with the Chiefs,
Yeah,
man.
I just gotta let everybody know what time it is. One loss don't define the team, man. It's
I
all
feel
about
you.
the Super Bowl rings that do. So, we just gotta keep on going. We're
Yeah,
gonna bounce.
Wally might not be coming back till like after the season. He probably like, man, I'm not about to show up. These cats still undefeated. So that might be it. Wally probably like,
Hey, I'm gonna invite them to the parade, so I already
oh,
know.
you gonna send him out there? We'll get him a ticket. He can be out there pissed off.
What
But
else
all
did
right. But we'll go ahead, man. We'll get started. So the movie we're gonna review today is Bad Boys Ride or Die. So the newest one that just came out. So all right, summary for this movie: Bad Boys Ride or Die is a 2024 American buddy cop action film starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So the plot for this is when their late police captain gets linked to drug cartels, wisecracking Miami cops Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett embark on a dangerous mission to clear his name. So, all right, let me go to the directors and producers. So, they're directed by Adil and Bilal, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, Will Smith, Chad Oman, and Doug Belgrade. That's pretty cool that Will Smith was in production.
Yeah, that's real cool.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and jump into cast list. So, the cast for this movie, of course, Will Smith as Detective Lieutenant Mike Lowry, Martin Lawrence as Detective Lieutenant Marcus Burnett, Vanessa Hudgens as Kelly, Alexander Ludwig as Dorn, Palau as Rita, Eric Dane as James McGrath. Let me pull that up. Lone Grufford as Adam Lockwood and Jacob Sipico as Armando. So, all right, y'all know what time it is. Gotta get to the rating. So we're gonna start with you first this time. Amazing. What's your rating for this movie?
I'll give it a 6.5.
All right, so
Whoa.
you in a good territory, 6.5. Casey Fred, what's your rating?
I gave it an 8.
Okay. So Fred's right between very good and 8. My rating 6.2. This was good. So Frederick, since you had it in the 8 territory between very good and excellent, we're gonna let you kick it off today. So let me pull up the questions.
Wait, first we have to say that Fred, we knew that this is going to be excellent for you
What? How did you know?
because this is your jam right here. It's like
Hey, I am an action junkie to my soul, and the simple fact that this is part of the chronology that obviously you had several of these movies of Bad Boys together. Of course, they kept all of a sudden giving you people from the past as well as new people. I mean, like I said, it lived up to its hype. It was action. It kept you entertained the whole way through. So, yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. It's on you, Fred, to break down the movie rating questions.
All right, so I gave it an 8, and the reason why I gave it an 8 is because I felt like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith did not disappoint again. And I tell you this right there, a lot of people wanted to go out and see it. They did go and see it, and everyone came out happy because at the end of the day, there was drama, there was action, there was chances where you could literally lose somebody, and you found yourself rooting for them, and you was trying to find out, okay, how do they get from A to B? And just like their car chases, they had to figure out the little clues and put everything together to find out not just who the bad boy was that was causing all this harm, and but also defending their old captain who had died in the previous movie. And then at the same time protecting their own family as well as Will Smith's son. I mean, and then even Rita's daughter, who happens to be Captain's grandbaby. So there was a lot of little parts and stuff that was in it, but it all kept you together because it was like one big ball of a snowball going downhill. And the bigger it got, the more excited you became. and you couldn't wait for it to all of a sudden pow as soon as it got to the bottom of the hill, because you knew it was going to be big, just like the way they always do. Every movie they have is a big climax, and so I was just very happy about it. Would I recommend it to anyone? Yes, I would recommend it. I would also tell everyone to see the previous movies before, because that also helps you on your journey in this movie. So that would be another thing. You can also see some of the old ones as well on Netflix. I did notice that. And then, what do you think about the plot and storyline? I thought it was cool. I thought it was becoming of age, especially for Martin Lawrence's son. And you had to put some respect on him when you find out he was in the service, and all of a sudden became a man. I mean, it took all these movies, but he became a man and he knew how to defend his family, just like Martin Lawrence been doing all these previous movies. And kudos to him. I thought he did an excellent job keeping the family safe. But like I said, the storyline, as far as where all of a sudden you wanted to find out, okay, they was trying to put a plot, they was trying to put all this wrong on their old captain who had passed. And Will Smith said it best: hey, he's not even alive to defend himself. How you gonna all of a sudden say he was dirty? We've had a lot of people dirty, but it wasn't him. And so you go through that. Plus, on top of that, Martin Lawrence having his health issues. There's always something going on. There's always something going on with him in this movie, and in every movie he plays when it comes to Bad Boys. And once again, he's going through a little, life death situation and finding out what the real meaning of life really truly is, and what is the most important things to him. Of course, is the growing of age, even for Will Smith, because one thing, he actually gets married in this movie, which he never did in any of the other ones. And he actually settles down. So he's not the Mr. Playboy that everybody sees anymore. But he also is trying to reconnect with his son that he also had outside of another relationship. So, I mean, it was just really cool. All the parts and pieces were coming together. They had enough of the action. They even had some comedy in there. So I felt like that was really cool to just keep tying it in. As far as actresses and actors that stood out, I really thought Will Smith's son, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I thought he played a very cool, smooth role. I love how he was in prison and he was part of the cartel, but yet at the end of the day, he was also knew how to take care of himself, and he didn't need no gun. He took some weights and took his shirt off, tied it up, and took care of business. So it just kind of remind you of the way Will Smith was. I mean, and you can tell, okay, they're definitely related. And so I thought that was really cool. The other thing I thought, like I said before, was Martin Lawrence's son. I can't remember his name exactly from the movie, but he took care of business. And like I said, you could tell he learned from his dad. He learned from the military, and he used all of that to be able to take care of his family when the invaders tried to come into their home. And he defended well, top notch and stuff. And so much to the very end. My favorite scene was where all of a sudden it was time for the little cookout, the little barbecue. And he says, hey, can I, excuse me, but can I come and cook my chicken? And everybody got aprons on, and they're Will and Martin looking at each other like, "Yo, man, this is man's table right here. You can't do that. You go somewhere." And he's still standing there, and they was like, "Now he just beat down 15 people like that. You might want to go ahead and let him cook his chicken." And they was like, "Yeah." Will's like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the potato salad." And Martin was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and fix the table. And then they let him go ahead and do his thing. And he, did the salute. And I had a smile on his face. And I'm just telling you, I mean, it's the coming of age. And so I thought that was really cool for that part. That was a good way to really kind of end it, kind of let you know that family really is the most important part. It did give me some Fast Furious vibes because one thing, people come together, people protecting their family, people being there for each other. So, like I said, I do like these kind of movies, amazing. So, yeah, I had to give it an 8, and so I was down with it, man. And if they came out with a 5, I would go see that one too. If there's anything I would change, probably not, because it did take you on a little journey. And at the end of the day, it kept giving you enough crumbs for you to be able to stay with the movie. You never fell asleep because you was trying to figure out what's what, who's who, and all that stuff. So I enjoyed it. I wouldn't change anything. And as far as I'm concerned, I think everybody should go see Bad Boys Ride or Die. That's it.
Damn, they need to hire you for like what they call it, publicity, public relations. You a hell of a marketer for this movie. But hey, let me go back real quick. Hey, Wally, what would you rate this movie? I gave it a 6.2, and I'm definitely going down. Amazing gave it a 6.5, I think, in a good territory. Casey Fred gave it a 8. So what's your rating for this movie, Wally?
So let me get this straight. You gave it a 6.2 and Amazing gave it a 6.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to hear what you got to say about this one.
No, what's your rating real quick? Because
oh no, for this movie,
jump on, Wally. Let's go.
I mean, well, I know what the overall they say, but for me, I would give this. Let me think this real clear. Because funny enough, I haven't watched Bad Boys for Life. I just remembered that there was a third one, but I didn't know it was that one, so I didn't watch that one. So amongst me watching this one, then it's like, okay, because I had to go read up a little bit of what happened in that one to connect the dots to this one. I was like, okay, so generally just on what I just saw and then just getting some feedback from yesterday's story, I would technically give this an 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wally gave it an 8. So all right, let me go. I'll do my breakdown. So my rating for this was a 6.2, and it will be dropped. And the reason why I gave it that rating is because, man, it's too many of these. It's like Fast and Furious. It's like, man, it's just losing its focus. And I think on this one, man, like they had great action scenes, but it was kind of like, man, it's almost like they running out of storyline. So it's just like it felt like they had to squeeze some stuff together for the plot and the storyline, and they just relied on Martin Lawrence, to be kind of goofy and stuff, which I thought the the fighting scenes was tough, and then it was kind of weird even with the son and stuff like that. It's like Will Smith got a Dominican son, and so and then Martin Lawrence. I like his character, but it's just like he was a little extra too goofy. And I wish they would have stuck to like more of the detective work and the action versus like him being a little over the top. So I like the humor and stuff, but it's like, man, I don't think you have to force it, because I think the storyline was decent enough, but it's just like a little more action and probably a little more suspense. And I think it would have been spot on. So one of the scenes that stuck out, I did like the part where Martin Lawrence with that alligator came. Because he was like kind of feeling himself, and he was like, "Hey, I got this." He was like, and then the shootout scene in the club. So that was a tough scene, So that's what I'm saying. They had some real good action, and I wish they would have kind of focused it more on that. So getting to the last question, if I was the director or the producer of this movie, what would I change? Man, if they're gonna make another one, they might have to kill off Martin Lawrence's character. Either kill that off, because in this one I wouldn't have changed too much, like I said, but chisel off some of the humor, but it's like, I'm going to focus on moving forward because, like Fred said, they're probably definitely going to make another one. But it's like either kill off his character or, make him like the chief or something of police where he's in a leadership role and maybe he got like a power complex. So he's not specifically in all the action. He's somewhat removed. And like you said, like a change of the guard, like partner somebody else up with like Will Smith, where he's like grooming that next person. Cause it's like these some of these guys got to get up off of there. And I think it's Martin Lawrence, my boy, he's getting the health elements,
He did get shot at the end. You know that, right?
Yeah, he did. But man, he's got to go. You got to change it up a little bit. So yeah, put him in a different dynamic. Like in Beverly Hills Cop, where what's his name, Taggart or whatever, was like in the leadership role. So it's like something like that has to happen, where you got to start mixing it up a little bit.
They could promote Will Smith and then have Martin Lawrence train the son-in-law, like mentor him.
Nah, he's got to go because he's all, like I said, he had the heart attack. Martin Lawrence is, he's packing on the weight, with like when you start getting older, that's the typical progression. So he's got to be in the office. And just, make him like power hungry, where he's like punking Will Smith, like, hey, I'm the captain or something. I think that would be nice little element. Just get him out the way a little bit.
She got her hand signs up, bro.
But yeah, it was just like I said, like great action. The plot wasn't terrible, but it was just like I think they felt like shit. Okay, we got Martin Lawrence. We got to interject too much humor. Where like I like the Beverly Hills with Eddie Murphy. It was like, man, his humor was like more timely, in the right areas, and it wasn't forced. So I think they should have like done that a little bit more instead of them making it super goofy, because it was like, man, the action scenes was tough. So I think if they would have scaled back some of the silliness with Martin Lawrence, I would have definitely had it probably in the territory you and Wally had.
Well,
but you guys are definitely
have a
tripping.
heart attack though, bro. So when he had that experience and he had that, as they say that after death experience and stuff, which actually end up being a clue, because that same picture, that same scene with the tree ends up being at the very end. And he says, hey, I remember this. And then next thing you know, boom, he realized he's actually a part of that. So, yeah. So
I got you on that.
Some of that is, I just felt like it was a part of life. Like, I know it felt like it was over the top, but it wasn't like the last movie where all of a sudden he took some kind of ecstasy or something like that, or whatever. And he was talking crazy at Captain's house and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't none of that. And then our tall nerd, he ended up dying in the movie. You know what I'm saying? And he had been in there the whole time, the nerd or whatever, and stuff. And so I was just like, I think they won't probably kill off Martin at all, because it won't be called Bad Boys if you kill off any one of the characters. But at the end of the day, both of them have been, shot at or shot before. So I thought it was really cool that they would do that. And then if you notice, they were always letting you know from the beginning of the movie, one of the very critical scenes was when all of a sudden they get off the ground and they stand up slowly. That's from the very beginning of the movie. In every movie, they always end up singing that song, Bad Boys, Bad Boys. And then they even did they were supposed to sing it when they got caught by the white boys and they was wearing their clothes. And they was like, no, it ain't no bad boys. We about to get shot and killed up in here. Why don't you sing some Reba? And then they had to try to figure out if they even knew a Reba song real quick. And I thought that was hilarious too. So, I mean, they're doing some changes, but it just kind of went with the flow of the movie, I felt like. So I didn't think it was too much over the top as much as it was a part of that life experience, because there was always something going on. I mean, even with Martin at the very first movie, he was going crazy because he had this jealous spirit and he kept, he hadn't got none in a while from Teresa. And then Marcus is over there at his house, keeping her and the family protected. But then he gets one little phone call or whatever, and hears her say, "Put it back in," and she's talking about a picture, but he goes over the edge on that and drives all the way over to the house and ready to beat up Marcus. So I mean, it's just like there's always something that's going on with Martin Lawrence in every movie. But that's, to me, was the comedy part, to just let you know that that's part of life. I mean, when you're in those kind of high drama situations, you need at least a little bit of comedy to just try to bring things down, because it got intense several times in this movie. So I thought it was pretty cool. But I mean, you thinking over the top, but you had a death experience, and then you just realize that you alive and well, and you standing on top of the building on the cliff. Yeah, I get your point. That's kind of over the top, especially when you got your butt hanging out in those doctor gowns or whatever that they wear. I get that, but that was part of the comedy relief when it came to a bad drama situation, because heart attacks.
Yeah, but that scene wasn't too bad. It's just, yeah, I get you, because like that scene wasn't too bad. It's just like everyone, they don't need all that, and it's just like they kind of rushed the plot, because it's like the one guy that was like the criminal actor, I forgot, he was on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
great actor. And so in the other one, that, what was it, Mr. Fantastic or something? Was that the other character? Yeah. They kind of rushed that stuff where it's like, okay, he's the villain, no mystery. The other guy, he was in on it. That came out pretty quick. It wasn't like a deep discovery that you had to figure that out. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, man, they had a pretty good plot, but it's just like, shit, okay, look, we got the humor, so let's hurry up and rush the plot, reveal everything. It ain't take no like real big mystery. Oh, the son's in here. We got him running through the forest. So that's what I'm saying. It got like a little lazy, and they actually had a pretty good plot with, how they were making it connect. And then, like you said, they did have the thing with Martin Lawrence, the experience. So it's like, man, they could have had more of the mystery to it, still had the humor, instead of rushing that plot like that. So that's why I think the disconnect kind of came, because it was actually decent. Like I said, with the plot was pretty good. How they killed off the captain in the beginning. So it's like, okay, damn, that's interesting. So like, how's it gonna play out? But they like rushed all that stuff. It's like, okay, he's the villain. Okay, the other guy that's in the police thing, he's in on it. That was like lazy how they revealed that. It wasn't even like that far, to dig him out. So that's why I'm like, God damn, like they just rushed it.
The only pushback I got against you is the simple fact of it is the way this movie is set up. It reminds me of Star Wars. If you get all the movies and you line them up all together and put them in that little pack that you would get it either at Blockbuster or Walmart or Target, and then when you say, I'm going to binge a weekend and watch all of them, it flows. But I get what you're saying, because if you're going to just separate this movie by itself, yeah, it probably needs some help. But at the end of the day, they kept making references to some of the movies prior to. And so, and then especially the time where all of a sudden they're trying to connect the son a little bit more, and they keep bringing the mom. Well, if you didn't know anything about the mom from the previous movie, then you didn't get what some of that conversation was all about. And it wasn't like, I enjoy what Wally says a lot in a lot of our reviews, where he says sometimes you need to be able to have flashbacks in order to kind of bring people present, just in case if they didn't see the movie prior to. And that kind of helps people stay connected, because other than that, you can get lost and be like, hey, I don't know what they're talking about right now.
But all right, let me get Amazing in here. What's your, you had it at 6.5. So go ahead and start breaking down the question.
Yeah, so I give it a 6.5. I feel differently from your guys's thoughts, in the fact, I don't think I saw number 3 actually either. And I probably saw the other ones literally 10 plus years ago. And I felt like I figured out right away, like, oh, that's the son. Like, I mean, he made reference, and the wife, like, I'm assuming that since the mom, it said that she was in jail when she gave birth, I'm assuming that her and Will hooked up, and then he ended up like having to bust her. That's my assumption. I have no idea if that's what happened, but anyhow, I felt like it gave enough that you could figure it out. Let's see. The other reason I gave it good, I mean, because 6.5 is good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I just felt like it's the same movie, just different city, a little bit of a different storyline. But I do think this is one movie that has been going on literally like 20 years and it's still good. It's not like it's dropped off, you know, like other movies and you just like anticipate them and it's a big drop off. So I think that's a plus. Just again, I mean, I didn't think it was like great, like when the original came out, everybody was talking about it, but these stories have definitely, I feel like, kept up with. Definitely watch it. It's a good movie. I mean, I kind of answered what did I think about this plot or storyline. I think it was kind of the same as all the others, a little bit different, but again, they did a good job with it. I enjoyed the movie. What scenes, actress performances stuck out? I also, like Fred had mentioned, I thought was that Martin Lawrence's son or son-in-law? Not in-law, right?
Are we talking about the one that was in the army?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually his son. You see him as a little kid from the very first movie, and he starts growing up.
Okay, I was not for sure on that one. But I thought those scenes were hilarious. Like when he's just like sitting on the couch and, you know, Martin Lawrence is going off on him like, you ate all my snacks, but really they have video of like the wife tossing him. So and they kind of make him sound like this little punk that came home from the military. Now he's just watching video games and eating snacks.
Hey, was that personal? Did you think of Dom during this time?
No, I'm just kidding. Oh no, it was funny though. I thought that did give me like a super big chuckle because I mean if you think about it, you do see these people like, you know, these men playing video games all the time. It was just funny. But then he totally goes complete like killer sniper on all of them. And you know, you're watching him and you know, and he's just like taking them out. So I thought those I really liked those scenes. I also thought I don't know why this scene stuck out to me, but I thought it was funny when Armando came into the other police officer's house and they were watching like all the videos like right before everything happened, and Armando like gave the one cop a tip on do this or whatever with the equipment, and he looked at him and was like, do I come to your house and tell you how to cut coke? I just thought that was funny for some reason with him having the cartel background. If I was the director or producer, would I change or do anything differently? I did like Jerk's thought on the whole change with somebody going into leadership, but I think my thought was what made it best when I said it would be better.
What was that again? What was your thought again?
Like,
refresh my memory.
He came up with like the foundation of the idea, but then I topped it off with the and everything.
So you said Mike Lowry, right?
I'll give him the kudos for that, but like I had to come in and wrap that up and tie the little bow on top of it.
Hey,
that was trash. Your idea was like.
So Amy, so he brought the drink and you put the umbrella in it. Is that what you're telling me?
Umbrella with the cherry. Umbrella with the cherry. I made it a drink on the beach.
Nah, it's like when one of them chefs, you know, they make the like plate, everything's doing. She throw like a little garnish on it, like green leaf that you can't even eat.
The one thing that I would change is I liked the new Martin Lawrence's wife. I like her as an actor, but I really I would have preferred just if we could have stuck with the original wife. Just because I always like when you see the original actors all stay through. So I don't know what was behind that or if it just couldn't work out or what. And I do think the new one did a good job, and I do like her also. I kind of miss seeing the original wife in the movie.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Fresh Prince when they changed the moms out.
Yes. Yeah, like you like both of them, but it does it. You're like, darn, where'd she go? So.
Mm-hmm. I do think you need to raise up your score though, because you
Nah,
were
you
giving
need to
all.
drop because that's a good point with switching them out. It's like, man, don't be scared to kill people off. Like Martin Lawrence, that's where the spin probably could have been. Like, instead of changing them out, like, hey, man, she passed, and so yeah, that could have been the new change. But let me get Wally in here. So Wally, break down your 8 score. Why are you delusional with KC Fred?
Well, one, we ain't throwing that delusional card on me this time.
Uh-oh.
Because remember, I didn't even get to watch For Life. I didn't get to watch For Life. So, yeah, you can't sell me on that. But as far as just my overall ranking, like, of course, I said it was an 8. Why did I give the movie that? I mean, honestly, like I said, coming in this freshly brand new without having the before drop information, and then just by the grace, just being able to have those little moments, I was like, okay. So there's some interest. There's an interesting tide here, which had a hit me in the head. Like, what year was Bad Boys 3? And I was like, oh, and I was like, okay. But other than that, look, the movie was solid to me. Little bit of backdrop history between the two, and this was pretty much going on overall. So when the story eventually hit, like, oh, okay, the former boss, which is pretty much gone, he's been quote unquote aligned with these cartels, and he's been this big drug lord underneath. I'm like, okay, they're smurging the name and everything, which is why the dude was hired for this, because in the flashback you see, quote unquote, Will Smith's son, which was the actor, I think Jacob S. that played Armando. He was the one that made the assassination attempt, which he, pretty much had locked down, because this was a deal between either the cartel and his mother, give or take. But that was a little bit nice, interesting take in it, because one, Armando, remember the face, he just never had a name, which you always want that, because you don't want that to be too easy. Because let's be honest, if you remember the name, that name could have been anything, granted, but at the same time, it's like, if you remember a name, it would have been way more worse. Which is why I like when they did that moment where, okay, they got off the plane, they got to safety, and they got to the guy's house, where they're over there trying to map out the face and trying to figure out who it is. Everything else would be, all that and everything else. And even though, even Armando, he didn't even say, he remembers who he is, but he didn't even give facial features. He just, he knows the moment he sees it, it's a done deal, right? So that still leaves room for, mystery, because you didn't even give facial features, but you know exactly what the dude looked like. So that was one thing for sure. What else can I really say? I mean, as far as, just starting off the movie, right? The movie was, starting it off, it was pretty nice as far as when it started, because you will sit here and think to yourself, okay, you finding out that, Martin Lawrence's character, he can't have the sugar sweet stuff in his older age and everything else like that and all that. And it's like, here he is, we finally at the wedding. It's like, oh, we have the greatest moment of Will Smith's life, character's life, Mike's life, right? He's about to get married and all this, everything else. And he's about to have this big ceremony, with family, friends, and people he knows. And it's like, here's Martin. He's on the dance floor. He getting jiggy. Next thing you know, he falls. And then it's like, okay, you're going into this another round where you're pretty much falling in water. You're in the sea. You're seeing everyone around you. Next thing you know, you teleport. You see your former boss. And in the midst of this, your former boss tells you it ain't your time yet. But then you hit that spot, this particular spot where the beach, the branch, the bird, and it's like, okay, you go back. But what was the funny thing about it is that was so humorous of it. It was like every single time Martin, Martin's character gets to tell Will's character about something that pretty much that happened, he doesn't tell him the straight thing that actually happened in the moment. He just tells him other things. I'm like, what? Why you keep telling him other things that you haven't actually seen? Well, that hasn't been shown, but you're telling him almost everything else but that moment exactly. And then it's like the next thing you know, that one particular moment when he talks about, oh, I was your owner and you were my donkey. Like towards the end, okay. That was funny. At the end, it's like, okay, granted you did that one. But it was just one of those like those coming moments, like that insurance scenery, which was sort of a little bit impactful because in a way you sort of change Martin's character to be a little bit quote unquote proactive, a little bit more in this scenario than less preactive than he used to be, a little bit more passive aggressive most of the times, which is actually a little bit pretty important because let's be honest, a lot of sceneries when he was doing that, he was breaking the ice. Well, he was trying to break the ice between him and his son in most cases and all of that. So it's like if he didn't do those things, it's like maybe that wouldn't be scenarios. Because the thing about it is like I don't think so Armando would ever, hit that moment where he would have been like, did you ever really love my mother?
Oh yeah.
Because at that moment you would think to yourself like, you would just be thinking to yourself like, what really happened between y'all? Like, how did I really get here? Was it just a fling? Was it just a one night stand type stuff? Like, you right there in his head, he's having that in his head because he's really asking himself what's really going on. And as much as when I finished the movie, I did learn to go like just get a little drawback of reading of just what the other movie was about. And it did mention that Armando ended up realizing towards the end he sort of was making a mistake going against his father because he didn't get the full truth of what was really going on. And it was like towards the end he realized he effed up. So it was like in a way. So it was like, just trying to balance what is true, what's not true, and trying to get what's right and wrong overall in the story. Which is why they're able to work in some form of fashion to get a deal where he's trying to clean up his life. So in a lot of ways, if you look at it between all three men, is like from Martin to Will's character to even Armando's character, they all had to face a pivotal point in their life where their life is about to change for the better or for the worse, one way or another. It's all depending on what you want to take it. Will's character, he was going through pretty much survivor remorse because it's like every single time, like the moments where he couldn't took the shot when he had it. Moments where, you wasn't as keen as you used to be in the other movies than you are in this one. But why? Because always in your head is that moment of, I shouldn't be here. I really should be dead. It should have not been him. It should have been me. And now it's like it's slowly and surely weighing on you in this whole thing because now you're seeing it as everyone you ever cared about or loved is like they're slowly and surely getting stripped from you piece by piece as you keep going. So, that was really like the real hitter in that whole movie overall because one thing about these action movies is you always got to sell that element of deep, that deep gripe. And they pretty much sold it pretty good here in this moment, especially for Will's character, because the simple fact of just you can be the hot shot all you want to be, in the early sense, but eventually the hot shot is gonna have that moment of breakage. And just like the villain in the thing, everyone tends to break. This is pretty much the same thing. It's like he had his break, but his break wasn't his end. His break was his resolve. So, same thing. It's like same thing with even when his son is like his break wasn't his end. It was just his resolve for his own freedom. So, a lot of cases you got to think about that in a lot of ways because in this moment, like, because for instance, because we all know, right, the commander's wife that's part of the force, she said it herself, if I ever get a chance to see your son again, I'm going to blow his head off. And even in the moment of having that glorious moment to redeem what she lost, she knows she can't because the fact that you even had the audacity to even say my daughter is like, I can't really do it now because you're paid the debt. It's one thing that you kill my husband, but the fact that you say my daughter, You can't really make that. You can't really make that shot because now it's like you already rethinking things, and you're thinking to yourself, were you really all that bad to begin with? Because at the end of the day, let's say this was all different. Let's say it was all different footing. Would you be where you at today? Would you be this guy? Probably not. So am I. So, a lot of things was just a lot of big hits and big moments in this whole thing overall. But as far as like what the plots and the storyline of it all, I mean, just me looking at this and then just trying to pick and choose like who was the one that was ushering out the wordage and verbiage and all that, as far as who was telling and who was saying this and this and this and that. I mean, it slowly became obvious. Like by the time he made that one call, and then he said what he had to say, and I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, it's obvious. It's always got to be someone close by to the main source that always be the one to tell. So it was pretty obvious. Until you always got to think about this too, right? He was also running for mayor, and then it's like, okay, think about what he said when he revealed why he was working with the guy and everything else. Oh, drugs were so easy to bring into America. It's like it wasn't really that much of a worry if drugs were coming into America. So it's like it was a 50-50 deal of just profit and everything else like that. And I'm like, okay. So it is really easy to see where this is going as far as motives and just overall ideas overall. So I'm like, this makes perfect sense why you're the villain, why you were the accomplice to the villain, because one, you're mayor, so you're shady. You're doing shady deals. So I'm like, it makes perfect sense that you're the guy that's doing all this anyway. So it was common sense. And plus, let's be honest, you called only one person, and out of one person, who else did she told? I mean, that's just clear sense right there. So
hey Wally, and didn't you notice that as soon as he was revealed, now he wants to become this woman beater, and he was just beating the tar out of her. I was like,
yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, but that was just part of the funny, because the one thing that like even before then, the one thing when they mentioned about like the former boss officer, like he was probably like a drug lord, I'm like, because the one thing that really caught me by like that's when I started like picking the guesses, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, something tells me that dude that's talking, that's the head of the table at the head of the table, he more likely is involved in it one way or another. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's wrong. He wasn't involved in it, because he really gave me those sketchy vibes like he's really involved with it. Just how confident he was talking without actual evidence his damn self about what's really going on, and picking the shots other than just whoever was connected. Like they don't really have that moment, anything like that. So it's like pick and choose. But having that, it was just really much, quote unquote stupid. But nonetheless, granted, because you're connected with one guy, and that one guy is dead. And I'm like, well, let's be honest here. If the one guy that's connected to him was dead, it ended up getting found dead, then my thing is, why did he not die just as soon as he did? And if he escaped, why would he be found?
Well, that dude ended up dying by Duke the alligator.
Yeah, he caught it bad at the end.
Well, no. I'm not talking about the alligator. I'm talking about the no. I'm talking about the guy that that had that little stripper, little young thing, the one that got popped when he revealed the code.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying.
Like, you talking about Fletcher? Is that who you talking about? The tall dude?
No. The old white dude. When the Eric Dane, James McGap, when he first came into the scenes, and him and his bodyguard came to this guy's place.
Okay.
They were talking. That's the guy I'm talking about. So that's what I'm saying. Like the only connection he had, where all this started, right? Where we start questioning, is he a mob boss, basically, right? He's the only one that had that information. He's the only one that had that intel. So it's like, if that tells you, I'm like, for someone to survive past him, and he had that intel, and it's like now this pops up, make that make sense. How does that magically just pop out of nowhere? And it's been some years. Okay, Add that up. Who confiscated that? And then the fact that he's dead. Hello, that don't add up. That don't make no sense. So the way they did that, so that's why I'm like, the fact that they were so quick to say that, you know, he was my boss and all this, and they're not picking that clue up. That's why I was like, okay, that would make me think that that dude at the point in time was like part of the scheme and trying to write the narrative in. But I'm like, okay, well, he wasn't really part of that. Ultimately, he was just a fool, just talking mess, just out of place. But overall, I mean, what else is there? But yeah, that was just part of the plot that I liked. What else? The other part? Montgomery, even with Montgomery, like he was another key component piece because, I mean, through all in all, like his appearance, his character, all that was pretty much like unscathed until like he got to like the hit point of figuring out when they discovered him. Because of course, right at this point, it was to make sure Armando is caught and pretty much dead, because he's the only one visually that has actually seen him and that's alive and that knows who he is. And so far, that's the only. Oh, and that was the closest person that can reveal who he is, other than what's her face, wife at the time. Oh, sorry, husband. Right, the sketchy dude that's trying to be mayor. So it was a lot of other things like that. Pick and choose. What else could I say about this? I'm trying to remember. But I mean, yeah. Other than that, I mean, as far as scenes and active performances, yeah. Now I know y'all was talking about Martin's son. Isn't he really isn't he the stepson?
Son-in-law.
Yeah, the son-in-law. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, when y'all say son, I'm like, what do you mean, the stepson?
They've been married for so long, so
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because when you call him son, I'm thinking like, oh, like since he was a child. I'm like, I don't remember no son that he had since a child. I know he had the daughter. But yeah, but it was funny because I remember like those key classical moments. Like I remember like they were shipping that out in the airwaves like before it went on. He was out there. He was top G commando and stuff. Like he was getting out there sniping the whole thing. His action scene was probably like the most lethal of it all throughout the whole movie. Like that was top tier. I ain't gonna lie. I like that because he was dropping bodies on left and right. And I'm like, okay, see that's what we talking about. You over there sitting comfortable like, hey, shit, I'm gonna play my Call of Duty and enjoy my time. Coming back from being from the army. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, it's like, wait, what? We got intruders. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, give me a moment. Baby, get out here. Get stay in the closet. Don't do nothing. It's time to go into action. Bink, 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 bink. Oh, like yo. Oh, like okay, yeah. Oh yeah. That growing up the phase. I'm like, yeah. Oh yeah, that's respect right there. I was like, yeah. I like that. That was nice. What else was another one? I mean, I think another key component. Another key component that revealed that Buddy was sort of like also a part of the old village scheme was the one big hitter question was, do you still love him? And I was like, why would you ask that question? And I was like, that was like pretty much another obvious hitter. Like, okay, yeah, there's something with you right now. Like you're giving off the vibes. You're giving off way too much vibes overall. But another big moment overall. The component between Will Smith and his son in this movie, as far as Mike and Armando, this was a pretty nice one. I did like it. Again, I don't know. I didn't watch the Backdrop movie to compare to this one. So, but as far as what I've seen and what I can gather in between, and then just seeing like how they're interact with each other, you can tell like one, it's very strange, of course, but it two is like let's try to work something out here, like because as much as Will never been in this dude's life, it's not like he wants to see him dead in the main hands of it all either. So that's just something like right there for me. Like it was just one of those sceneries of all that. But But overall, it's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Would I recommend the movie? Yeah, I definitely recommend it. What would I do if I was the director or the producer of this movie? What I would do, what I change or do differently. Honestly, so here's one of the scenes that I wish that they actually worked just a tad bit more on, and that was when they put out the hit. I wish the hit was a little bit more better than that, because granted, yeah, I mean they went to a familiar person, and then Martin Lawrence's character was like, "Hey, she don't like you like that, right?" And it's like right then there, it's like, oh yeah, I want this deal. I mean, I need you to come downstairs, and do this work. And I was like, I'm like, yeah, this is okay. And the next thing you know, it's like, sit your $5 behind down. I was like, oh. And it's like, see, I told you she don't like you like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just trying to see if you was willing to do it. I was still gonna motherfucking take the money. I was like, oh, come on, oh, that's cold. And next thing you know, you get Jordan Lucas, the rap artist, the music artist, coming in there in the scenery, about to take him into custody and stuff, and because pretty much the $5 million is pretty much dead or alive. So you can either do this the easy way or the hard way, whatever you want to do. And I'm thinking to myself, like, the next you see a bunch of these other gangs and crews come into play, and it's like, that's not enough. It's like you showed all these different crews that one of these guys had. I'm like, you only really showed like what, 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm like, that's that's it. Okay.
Wally, Fred is trying to taunt you.
Huh? I ain't worried about that. But yeah, nonetheless, what else I was thinking about? But that's just one scenery. What else was I thinking of that I wanted to hit on?
I don't know, but why are you thinking? Let's put a commercial in here. Okay, so you can pick these up right here. These name badges that Lucid LL.
Hold on, let him.
Oh, God.
Oh man, what else I'm thinking
of? Those scenes were funny. I forgot about those ones too.
Hey, you know what was funny is in every movie they always have a car scene, if you guys remember it, and they're always going through Miami, and then they stop at the shop, and Martin's always, there was a scene at the very beginning where it was the fries, but there's always something. Well, this time he's hungry. He wants to be able to get a ginger ale. At least that's what he says. He goes in there and gets a hot dog. He wants to get some Skittles. He wants to get a drink. And sure enough, it's time to get robbed, right? There's always something getting ready. Funky goes down. And the most hilarious part is when Marcus comes in and the guy behind the counter starts snitching on Marcus, on Mike, and not on Mike, but on Marcus. And I was just dying laughing the whole time because he was just like trying to lie his way out of it. And the guy behind the counter was like, hey, I'm snitching on everybody. No, that's not what you came here for. This is not what you was trying to do. And that was hilarious to me. So I thought I knew right then and there, you started off real. I mean, you got a fast car, y'all speed, then all of a sudden put some comedy right at the beginning. Boom. I knew this movie was going to take off. So I was pretty happy about this whole situation.
Yeah, that was a funny scene. Wally, what do you think about this twist? Because instead of the like one guy being in the inside, I think they should have made like the female boss. They should have like made her the one that was like in connect with the cartel.
But she died in the movie before, though.
Which female boss?
The one you have
the one that's the office force of Marcus and Mike.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, make her the villain somewhat.
Yeah. Rita? Is that who you're talking about, Rita?
Yeah, I think he's talking about Rita, I believe.
She was a marshal.
Wally had brought up
Rita,
another scene that I thought was funny. Is when you had mentioned the beginning scene with the one guy with like the girl in the bathing suit or whatever she was. I did think it was funny the way they set that whole situation up, though, when he called the bad guy, made him call his wife, and then made it look like the stripper girl is the one who like orchestrated the whole thing.
Right, and killed everybody, including herself. Yeah.
Yep.
You talk about John Sally's?
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I just, when Wally had mentioned that scene, it made me think of that. And I did think that was kind of slick the way they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So another piece I just really thought, well, actually now I have to want to throw a scene because I just remembered that one scene when what was it, that scene? When they went to go meet up, yes, John Stelly, like when they talk about, and John Stelly was trying to give off the message like, hey, I can't tell you what I need to tell you unless you tell me what you need to tell me. I'm like, all right, look. You know, he was covering all this and this and that, and then, you know, he just told me because he knows I'll be able to keep it. And he's trying to tell him, like, hey, the secret is kept within the art. They behinds were being stupid, like, because they looking at it like, man, this ain't art, man. What the heck are you talking about? And funny enough, if they didn't, you know, if they didn't have backup having full eyes coverage, they wouldn't realize that the art really had it a massive clue, aka a encryption code.
Yeah, QR
so
code.
So that code was pretty smart to have because, of course, that, you know, keeps everything incognito overall, which lucky enough the other guys didn't pick up, which they could have just, you know, scrammed and, of course, locked up all that piece of information, took that with them. But lucky enough they didn't. So, you know, ins and outs. But another big part that I would like to change is that moment where the commander's wife and then Armando's like face to face at the end. I think the one thing that I want that to be changed is in the moment, instead of like the daughter all like pretty much defending him, I would wish he defended himself. And the reason why I say this is because once again, like this is a moment, this is a pivotal moment. Like regardless, you don't, you know, you make your choices in life, right? But you make your choices amongst other people, not amongst yourself. And then at that point, you would have at least been like, you would talk to her and been like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I took away your husband. I was a fool. You know, I was in something. I didn't know what was really going on. I was deceived in more ways than one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop you right there, Wally, because in that particular case, it was actually really cool that the granddaughter actually stood up. And
I'm not saying
in the fight, he was always about himself. He didn't care about nobody. In fact, he even told his own dad and Marcus, be like, hey, if you guys get in my way, I'm leaving you. I'm not worried about you. I will leave you. I will drop you like a bad habit. He's been by himself. He was only thinking about himself. But when he got in the fight, he literally got stabbed. He got cut. He got marked down. He got the beat down. And then he gave his very last, and she was getting ready to leave. And she was like, man, you actually risked your life for me. And so let me come back over here and try to help you, and let's get out of here. And so to me, I felt like all three of those men had to go overcome something. You know, for Marcus, it happened to be the heart attack, and to be able to realize, hey, where I'm living my life, I got to get beyond that. And life is so much bigger. And then for Mike, he had what's that thing where all of a sudden you have that panic attack or whatever, and he had to overcome that, because if he wouldn't have overcame that, you know, his wife, not to mention even Marcus, probably would have died. So, you know, because he didn't take the shot before, he had that panic attack, and he was like, oh, I don't have the shot. Man, you had the shot 4 or 5 times and you didn't take it. But at the end, you had to overcome. And because you overcame, not only was you able to shoot Marcus and he didn't get hurt, but then you turn back around, and I think it was like, what is it, 3-4 bullets in the last one right in the head of the villain, and just take him out. And it was pure precision. I mean, just laser. And so, I mean, it was just like, it was awesome. And then Armando at the end, like I said, he had to.
Fred, you hit the mic a little too much.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you good.
Yeah, but Armando, he had to go overcome his selfishness. And like I said, he risked his life for that girl. And so because he did that, it was her turn to be able to stand up to her mom. And if he wouldn't have done that, I don't think she would have stood up for him. And 9 times out of 10, she probably would have just walked out. Here he is. Go ahead and take him out, mama. But because he did go ahead and risk his life for her, she was willing to go ahead and stand up even against her own mom. And I thought that was honorable too. And so it was really cool, man. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie, man. And Wally, we are on the same team, brother. It's about time. Jeez.
I think if that girl did have stood up, shit, that one lady would have shot him because she was like,
say that we're on the same team, then stop me when you're pretty much saying everything I'm pretty much saying is like, I think we're disconnected on this point. But okay. But
don't let your beard get in the way, brother.
Again, no. But again, like I was saying, I'd rather to let him morally talk. Not saying that the girl couldn't have made her statement, but I think it would have been more impactful, at least a piece of clarity, where you would have at least sit there and said you owned up to your mistakes in life and realized that you were in something deeper than yourself. And at that moment, that at least is a showmanship of just character as a man, let alone as someone that is just a little bit more deceived in life or just a little bit more lost, where you can sit there and say, I fucked up.
He could have done that, but I don't think Rita would have ever listened to him. That's what the problem
is. It may not be the case, but you know what? I'll tell you this much though. Sometimes you got to ask yourself 2 things. There's times where people take someone from you, and it may be just flat out just for wrong things. My thing is this. Let's be real. This person is a random trained assassin and just put a bullet in your pops. Just put a bullet in your ex-husband's, and that's it. Didn't know anything, didn't really know. All he had was an inventor of knowing what? That your father was a deadbeat, he was a traitor, he left you high and dry, he didn't care about you. You had nothing but hate. But then realizing that ain't the fullness of the story. You were deceived, you were lied to. And you realize that by the time you end up connecting the dots and you try to make things right somewhere down the line because you realize something ain't right here. So you made your choices. You made your bed and you slowly laying in it with everything that's going on. And granted, yeah, there's moments he still got that demeanor of, hey man, me versus everything else. But at the end of the day, when it came to that moment, it was like I could have just chose me and got the frick out of here. But what I did something that I know I killed a man that I didn't know nothing about, just because off the rage of just the bitterness of who my father is and what I was told to do. So now I have the opportunity to make this right and do what? I'm protecting this man's daughter. More likely she should hate me, left me for dead right then and there. Saved me, brung me around, left me on the tree versus letting me die, which pretty much he could have if he stayed there, or even worse, and then get that chance. So when I'm saying like being able to just sit there and be able to confront and have that moment of just clarity to say your piece and say that you were wrong and to set that insurance, that is a lot more valued than anything else. Because guaranteedly, someone can just sit there and say, hey, look, I did what I did. It ain't nothing. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm sorry. But the fact that if he were to, that would have been more deeper than that, anything else. Granted, but it would have been way more deeper. Remember, you're selling that pivotal moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it now because I was like, okay.
So for me, like that would have been another key moment right there overall. Other than that, what else is there really? I mean, I don't really want to touch on anything else because, of course, I don't see this as being a more of an extended thing right here.
Yeah.
Because the way how they sort of like just sell like the overall, because like Martin, like Marcus is pretty much at a health deficit, and then of course Will, he's pretty much on the down end of just constantly being drained out of overall, loot loss and everything. So it's like, I think I say it like this: Where it end up for the boss is where it ends for them. It's like they just take a normal round and just say, "Hey, we're on cruise control now. Just take it easy." I think that's the best thing they can do right here.
Yeah, I'm feel you. All right, let's go ahead and jump and change the rating. So, me, actually, like Wally had a pretty good breakdown because like some of the stuff. So I'm gonna go up to 6.7. I still in the good territory. I can go up no higher, but you had some good takes that when I was listening to it. I'm like, okay, I like what Mike because I'm still not, with Marcus's character. He kind of got on my nerves, but I like how you was mentioning like the breakdown of Mike's character. So that was a pretty good spin. So I'm going up to 6.7. Mason says she's still staying at 6.5. So Casey, Fred, you going up there?
8, bro.
Staying as an 8.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Wally, what about you?
Staying as an 8.
Okay. But yeah, nah, man, I thought it was like I said, I like the action. Still a good movie, regardless in my eyes. But yeah, I think they just do, because I hate when people stretch out movies too much, where it starts losing that value. So I would like to see some like major differences, even in what was the one with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, Lethal Weapon. How, when they started kind of aging out, they made like dramatic changes. So I think that's definitely got to happen somewhat, but still pretty good movie. But we'll go ahead and get y'all outtakes real quick. Casey, Fred, what's your outtakes?
Great movie. Hey, it was awesome. Hey, I gotta also give a shout out to Erica Smith. She's the one to make the KC shirts. Let me pull it up. It got the 3-peat on them. Everybody should go get them. That's what we're gonna do. Make history this year. You know what I'm saying? So very happy about that. And then, like I said, I also want to mention that I believe it comes out this weekend, Gladiators 2, with Denzel and a bunch of great actors in there. Y'all need to check that out as well. So that's a good movie. You should be able to go see that in the movie theater if you can. So I want to give that shout out too.
All right, Wally, outtakes.
Hey man, if you haven't watched the movie yet, I better get on it. It was solid. It was solid. For what it's worth. Other than that, I mean, nothing much more to say. I mean, yeah, definitely watch the Gladiators 2 movie because this is the final runs. We're in the final runs of Denzel's career. You know what I'm saying? He's 5 more. Call it a career.
Yeah, I definitely. I had mixed reviews. We were talking about that on Monday, Wally, where I was like, man, Dan, I just can't see him in his role. Definitely a great actor, but it's just like, man, he's too cool to be a gladiator. So maybe I got like Training Day stuck in my head, but I'm gonna have to check it out though.
Because he's just politicking, so I can see him being the politician of it all. So.
Yeah, definitely. When at first I thought he was gonna be in the arena, but when I saw like he was gonna actually be the emperor or somebody like that, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So I'm gonna check it out this weekend. But all right, y'all, we out of here. Peace.